You've probably heard of the dark of the night soul. Those moments of deep spiritual crisis where everything feels empty and you're left questioning your very existence. But what happens when the struggle isn't with your soul, but with your ego? It's less about losing faith and more about watching the identity you've built over a lifetime crumble to dust. Everything you thought defined you, your roles, your ambitions, your beliefs, suddenly stop making sense. The ego, which usually loves to control and label things, starts losing its grip. It's as if the carefully constructed image you've spent years creating, your sense of self, your boundaries, your status, starts falling apart piece by piece. It's a collapse of the ego's illusion. And it's intense in this space. The ego experiences its own dark night where the rules it once lived by no longer apply, unlike the dark night of the soul, which feels more spiritual and existential. The dark night of the ego hits closer to home. It's a personal unraveling. You start to realize how many of your beliefs were just your ego defense, how much of your identity was shaped by fear, insecurity, or a need for approval. The ego resists letting go because this feels like death, a death of the false self. And in some ways, it is. It's the death of who you thought you were. The dark night of the ego isn't about destroying the ego completely. It's about stripping away the ego's illusions, getting down to the raw, authentic self that lies beneath all those layers. This process is brutal, no doubt. It's uncomfortable and often disorientating because you're losing everything familiar. But it's also freeing. When the ego's mask falls away, what remains is something real, something true in this space. The ego isn't annihilated, it's transformed. The ego matures, becoming less about control and more about serving the higher self. It learns to step back to allow soul and spirit to guide the way. It's as if the ego undergoes its own version of spiritual awakening, evolving from a controlling force into a partner on the spiritual journey. The breakdown of the ego is actually a breakthrough, one that allows you to live more authentically, more aligned with your true self. So, while the dark night of the ego is tough and often terrifying, it's a critical step in the journey towards real freedom. When you come out on the other side, you're not just spiritually awake. You've redefined yourself at the core, and your ego now works in harmony with your soul, not against it.